Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the 7th of August 2018, is one of the key moments of the 2018 presidential year or political year in Cameroon. It is now official that 8 candidates are going to be running to unseat President Paul Biya, who has been at the helm of the country for 35 years now. Elections Cameroon today published the various lists for candidacy or the various candidacy files. So published a list of validated candidacy files today. And out of the 28 documents deposited for the election, 9 of them are so far been retained for the 7th of October 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. They are Paul Biya of the CPDM political party. We have Gaga Aman Aji of ADD political party, Adamu Ndamjoya of the CDU, Cabral Libi Univer party. The Social Democratic Front, we have Joshua OC, Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Serge Espamatomba Pius Ndifo Franklin of CM political party, and Akere Mona of the PDA political party. Now, Elections Cameroon had to go through 27 files because Isaac Fozo of the Univer party, or rather Mercy party, backed out of the race to support the candidacy of President Paul Biya. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You are watching the special program in which we are going to be looking at the profiles, the expectations, the chances, and the peculiarities of the 9 candidates that are going to be going in for the presidential election in Cameroon. When we come back, we meet our guests. Stay with us. Good evening to you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join us on this special program after the publication of the list of the various candidates to run for the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. As I indicated, we have been joined by Barrister Tangan Mbole of the Social Democratic Front Party. Barrister, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Good evening, Mimi, and good evening to my co-panelists and to the televiewers.
And we equally are going to be receiving Barrister Ashu Julius, supporter of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. Barrister, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on the program.
Good evening, madam. It's a pleasure being here. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, televiewers. Thanks for inviting me for a special edition today.
Thank you too for coming. And we equally have a political analyst who is going to be looking at the expectations, the chances of the various candidates. Is Ako John Ako. Mr. Ako John, good evening. Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Good evening, Mimi. Good evening to the Cameroonians, and equally to all those who care for the nation of Cameroon, friends and partners of this great nation. And the journalist is equally on board, Mr. Charles Fonga. Good evening. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Mimi, and good evening to all viewers of Equinoxe television.
And to our viewers, we are going to begin right away finding out from Mr. Ako John Ako. Mr. Ako John, 7 candidates retained so far by Elections Cameroon. 18 files rejected. 3 of these candidates are old, according to some critics. I'm talking about Gaga Aman Aji of ADD political party, the CPDM presidential candidate Paul Biya, and the CDU political party candidate, that is Adamu Ndamjoya. And on the list, we equally have 6 newcomers. What is your take as far as this new twist of event is concerned in Elections Cameroon?
Yeah, the very first issue I noted this time around is the reduction of the number of candidates running for the position of the presidency of Cameroon. And again, you realize we have a lot of young, elegant politicians in recent, meaning we are talking in the light of Cabral Libi, we are talking in the light of Frank Mfo, and we are talking again of Joshua OC. This is one of its kind that we see that in Cameroon today there is a spirit of youth inclusiveness, and I believe having the same old guys like Adamu Ndamjoya and Gaga Haman, again President Paul Biya, all bridging their 80 years, I think it is time to these youths can, and even the political atmosphere in Cameroon is going to give us the impetus to feel that there is a time for the youth to act. And if you see, with some of the movement we have made in the field, the youths are, I'm telling you, that 2018 may be a turning year for the history of this country. And I have said several times that change is not far to come to Cameroon. And again, we are going to see in many of the atmosphere that even the churches are equally concerned now for politics.
Now, Mr. Barrister Julius Ashu, he is talking about the new impetus that would be seen in the political sphere. In Cameroon, 18 files rejected by elections Cameroon. Do you think that there would be some changes during this 2018 political year in the country as a CPDM militant?
Yes, as a CPDM militant, I say the first thing I notice is that there's a lot of political awareness. It means CPDM has done its job in this country to make people aware that, look, when it comes to nation building, everybody has to participate. And because of that, it has made so many people to dare where people never used to dare before, which is a good sign. Secondly, I realize that Elections Cameroon are doing things on time. Ordinarily, they were supposed to bring out this list before the 8th of August. They've done it today, one day even before. So which I like to commend them for the job well done. And tell speaking, I've always said that the problem of this country is the youths don't come out to dare. And if you see from the list of candidacies, there are people below 45 which are there this time, which is first of its kind, which is something I must recommend very, very, very highly. And that the old guard is still there, showing that in Cameroon we have real democracy in the sense that it is not a matter of age, it is a matter of who can do it.
It's a matter of who can do it. Barrister Atanga Mbambole, sorry for that. He's talking about we are talking about the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. The number of the files that have so far been retained by Elections Cameroon has dropped drastically. In 2011, we saw 23 candidates. This time around, though a tentative and official list, we are talking about 9 because we are still to hear from the Constitutional Council in 2 days from now, the various candidates who are not happy about today's publication would have to file their complaints at the Constitutional Council. Do you think that there is some message as far as the reduction is concerned?
Yes, Mimi, you know, it is not surprising, especially with those who went in as independent candidates. I wonder if they could gather all the 300 signatures from the dignitaries involved. We know how difficult this is, and those who could not pay their caution or those who could not fulfill 1 or 2 other provisions of the law. But the main thing I see is the dynamism that Cameroonians are getting aware of the bad governance in which we are for decades. And we are fast realizing that we have the keys in our hands to change our destiny or to make things move for us.
How is that dynamism manifested? Yes,
with the caliber of the candidates that we have, especially the young. I would say especially the young, because for us to have about 4 or 5 candidates we can confidently call young candidates, it means that the young people have realized that they have a role to play in Cameroon and they are ready to play that role, which is a very, very good thing, and it would encourage others to be interested in politics or in governance. That is very, very important. So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is that we still have some people who resist, who don't want to accept change. You know, my party realized, the national chairman of the SDF read the handwriting on the wall and realized that we're in a nation where there are people whose future is behind them and people whose future is ahead of them. So you must give the opportunity to those whose future is ahead of them to man the powers of this nation. So we have the old guard who don't want to realize that the time has come for them to quit the scene.
Mr. Charles Fungang, has the time actually come for the old guards, as he has said, to quit the scene? Were you disappointed when you saw the 18 list being rejected, no single woman on the list, or you expected, or you saw this coming actually? Because the press has been talking about this.
Okay, before I answer to your question, I would like to react about what Barrister Julius earlier said. The little democracy we have in Cameroon is not to be put on behalf of CPDM. I don't know. Cameroonians fought in order to achieve that. So saying that is because maybe CPDM wanted that today we are talking of democracy, I don't believe it is true, it's not fair. Now, I would like to agree with Barrister Mbambole, because really we were not expecting more than 10 candidates, because many of the candidates were independent candidates, and we know quite all right that it would have been very difficult for them to fulfill all the necessary documents to stand as candidates. So really, I was not surprised, but I was a little bit surprised just with the president of UPC, the lady. I expected that at least that lady can be among the contestants. But despite maybe the problems in his party, the fact that you have two Secretary General really enhance her file.
Do you think that the recent development with the decision of the Minister of Territorial Administration could have had an impact negatively on the candidates of the UPC?
That's what I believe. But for now, we don't really know what are the reasons why those certain files have been rejected. We are looking forward to know more by the days ahead, with the days coming. But I believe that it has an impact on our status.
And Barrister is going to be telling us about the situation now for those whose files have so far been rejected. The Constitutional Council has 2 days to receive the files of grumbling candidates, those that are not satisfied, of political parties. You think that there could be a possibility of some of those candidates' files being rehabilitated?
Of course, because we can't actually say what a court will decide at the end of the day. You know, as you said, they have 2 days from the publication of the list to challenge, to petition to the Constitutional Council. Okay, and they can state good reasons why they ought to be candidates. So we have to wait for the verdict from what the Constitutional Council, but the Constitutional Council has some time limit to decide on what should happen. Well, either to accept the candidacy or to reject them, or to accept, reject, that was made by the election council, what they call the election council. Yes. So what I feel is that it is very premature for us to determine what a court will say at the end of the day. It's a wait and see thing. It has to be wait and see.
And looking at the individuals, the various candidates, we look at the CPDM presidential candidate Paul Biya, who is going in for the 7th time. He said that he was endorsed by Cameroonians, Mr. Ako John. We saw some 20 opposition party leaders endorsing or supporting President Paul Biya. Some critics hold that the opposition candidates in the country who are going in for the presidential election are simply running for the 2nd place. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, talking of President Paul Biya running for the 7th time is what many Cameroonians are putting a lot of question marks. And secondly, coming on the point that he was endorsed by Cameroonians, again another question mark, going to give us to assess the credibility of the CPDM party if it has to be a democratic party. And in many parties we have seen, I don't want here to make a propaganda, but I noticed that in February, the SDF called for a congress which voted its candidate for the election. In Cameroon, and they call, what they call l'appel du peuple, is what we don't know, a call from the people. Which people? We have seen that a lot of those who sign in the name of the head of state to stand, like you notice happened with the Douala chiefs, were just disgruntled people that we are not supposed to raise the monument of Umnobe in Douala.
But nobody came up to say they are not supporting his candidacy. When
this is what I am saying.
He did the publication
that
on social media.
Most often than not, it is a dictatorial system within the ranks of the CPDM. For more than 40 years, the party has not succeeded in electing a new leader in office. And what controversy again? From the circuit, I mean, the electoral bureau, the political bureau of the CPDM, the president, the chairman of the party, Paul Biya, is known as a natural candidate, meaning there is no democracy. Even when we talk on the most brutal regimes in the world, I believe they still have the idea that one day they will change their leadership. But when followers of that party who has expressed intention of being the next candidate, a lot of them now leader the corridors of Konenge. And we still say it is a call from the people that the head of state should stand in the absence of a national congress. It is fake. And we should stop telling Cameroonians that for 40 years, for 36 years, the head of state has been doing well. You have a lot of multiplications. Where was the CPDM party in 1982, 1985? Where is the CPDM party today? What was the country they inherited in 1982? And what is the situation of the same country they are having at hand now? I will tell you that if we make just a look at the institutions in place and the activities, financially, economically, and socially, we realize that for 36 years, it is not better under the regime of the head of state. For 36 years, we have seen countries that were struggling nations passing emerging and developing countries, while Cameroon is still struggling to solve basic problems. Drinking water. We don't have drinking water in Douala, no drinking water in Yaoundé.
Yes,
no roads in the streets. Please, I would just like you to let me get into a lot of this. If we are electing a candidate for 7 times in office, health services, the same president comes out abroad for emergency. We have dignified, high classified individuals evacuated from the state budget to take medical treatment abroad. Education. What references do we have? Which center can we reference? For 36 years, I believe it is total political anarchy at the helm of the CBDM.
I think that Barrister Ashu Julius should react to that, to the candidacy of President Paul Biya. Many complaining that it is time for power to change hands. What do you have to say about that, Barrister?
First of all, I just know that Mr. Ako is very, very unaware of the gimmicks of politics in this country. You see, politics is not a game where you just get the one good morning. I think you can use your hand to change things. Please, it's a game. You have to go through some processes so you have to study so many things. You have to train for you to come to attain a certain level of it. But you see, his problem, his worry, is Paul Biya. His worry, he's saying that Cameroonians never asked Paul Biya to run again. So to him, only ducks, goats, cows did, and not Cameroonians. To him, those who are behind Paul Biya are not Cameroonians, and he alone knows who are Cameroonians. But that notwithstanding, when once a majority carries the vote, the minority has to bow. That is democracy. Paul Biya has been voted all this time without any challenger, any proper challenger, and he's been president for all this time because the majority wants him to be there. If you think you're stronger than him, get the majority behind you. That's democracy. Don't make as if the fact that he's there means he's a dictator. The fact that he's there means those who desire that he should be there want the dictator to be in power. No. This is a democracy.
But we saw the outing of the SDF presidential candidate, yes, Honorable Joshua Osei, today, indicating that they are going in for the election, but aware that the elections Cameroon is still to conduct a hitch-free and transparent election in the country. Do you have the impression that this year's election would be void of hitches? We saw the complaints of the Social Democratic Front, the CRM, talking about the presence of polling stations in military barracks and at the presidency of the republic. Do you think that can guarantee transparent election in Cameroon today?
No, first and foremost, they are doing their job to bring awareness at the polling stations in areas that are not supposed to be, which is a normal thing, which is just normal. But you see, when one of the rules of the game has been put in place, you participate in the game, and then after you want to say the rules were faulty, or the rules were not going to meet, I'm very surprised. As you've agreed to participate, it means you've accepted the rules as they are. All you can do is make proposals to ameliorate the rules of the game when the time comes. That's all.
The barrister is talking about making proposals. Barrister Atanga Mbambole, just to note as well, while quoting Honorable Joshua Osei, indicated that Cameroonians have to make their choice, but making their choice within this context. How is that going to be a possibility?
Before I come to that, I want to go back to the initial question you asked about somebody running for 7 times. I mean, you may run even for 10 times if you are fit. You understand? But now we find people who are not fit and they don't want to leave the stage. People who have been in the senior service of this country since 1962. There are people who were born in 1962 who have gone on retirement. This is but logical. And people who started work at the top level of the civil service in this country since 1962 still claim that they are the best today. I think it is time for Cameroonians to decide whether they will move heads high after October 7 or not to sanction, especially for a president who has been there for close to 4 decades and the results are what we are. Cameroon is on its knees, if not on the ground. So we can only call on Cameroonians to take their destiny into their hands and come out massively on the 7th of October to say no to this kind of rule. Now, coming to the conditions of the elections, since 1992, the SDF has decried poor elections in this country. Granted, some amelioration has been done, But a lot is still to be done. And in 2018, when we thought some kind of funny styles were already forgotten in Cameroon, they are coming back. Imagine polling stations at the Unity Palace, polling stations in military barracks, polling stations in all the traditional palaces. It only shows that somebody is afraid, that they are perceiving danger, and they want to control a part of the electorate. If you are called to share something between two people in equal portion, you should not be afraid who chooses first. So when you see people who are now struggling to maneuver, know they are perceiving danger, and Cameroonians should not be afraid. You know, when you are fighting your opponent, you need to look and watch what your opponent is doing. The kind of actions your opponent is taking will show you that the opponent is perceiving danger, and that there is danger coming, and they know very well that they are vomited by Cameroonians. So all we need is to be courageous, to come out on the 7th and vote away this regime.
And now, Mr. Charles Fongang, getting rid of these polling stations at the military barracks and righting some of the wrongs cited by John Ako and Barrister Atanga Mbole, is it enough to guarantee a transparent election in Cameroon?
Because before talking about fair and credible elections, I would like to react about what Barrister Atanga said here. I believe
because if we keep coming back to the same thing, we are going to be on the we are going to be
It's a debate. It's a debate.
It's not bad.
2 years ago, a party might then calls for President Paul Biya not to stand for the elections because the party believes that if President Paul Biya decides to take his retirement, there are many young Cameroonians in the CPGM party, very talented, who can stand, who can contest as presidential candidates. But people are afraid. So the problem now is not only the age, it's the number of years he has spent as president. And we see there is not change, really change. Ako John here quote some examples that there has not been no improvement on the lives of Cameroonians. Now coming of the transparent and fair elections, those who are there to contest know quite well what are the rules. They know quite well the problems they can face. And it seems that if Cameroonians really mobilize, go and vote and defend their votes, maybe something different can
happen this time.
Not
only mobilizing and voting.
And as far if we talk of those police stations found in barracks, in military barracks, it is also mobilization. If they really want, then they can go and control it. They can force themselves into those police stations and make sure that the results are really coming from those police stations. It is quite possible. So if really people really mobilize people and put themselves together, things can change. The matter is not only because I quite remember that in 1992 we heard that SDF candidate Nijon Fundi won in those barracks. There were police stations in military barracks, and Fundi emerged first. So the problem is, if people really mobilize, things can change. So we cannot just stand on the fact that there are some police stations in those military barracks to say that
is why
it's a clear
we are going for the elections.
Some observers hold that mobilization and the political, economic and social programs of the various presidential candidates could pave the way for the opposition in Cameroon this time. Mr. Akojon, do you think that it could also be a chance for the opposition to make its way to the presidency in Cameroon?
There has always been a chance for opposition to make it in Cameroon, but the powers that be has refused a lot of Cameroonians this opportunity. And we are not going back into history. They are aware that starting within the candidate of the party itself, there is a problem. That a lot of those who presented to be out of line, some have been silenced, some dismissed from the party. A lot of them within the same party, many have written a letter for the president to step down so that they can take power. But we have always seen these ones being treated like political prisoners. Again, when we look at the nature of the country, Cameroon, you realize that we don't even need a party, we don't need a candidate in front of the present regime to win elections, because the facts speaks for themselves. Barrister is well informed about the principle of res ipsa locator, that when it is open, we don't need to debate. When we need change, we need change. We don't know who's going to bring the change, but what is there is not better for Cameroonians.
You earlier praised the profiles, the portfolios of the opposition. What if they come together? Don't you think that it could be a chance for the opposition?
I always have a problem with us feeling like the disunity of opposition is a failure of opposition.
Not disunity, but an opposition
that is what I'm
coalition.
saying. You are talking of a coalition.
Of course.
An opposition coalition is just a stepping through. What if the laws too are not permitting Cameroonians to do so? Remember, in this country, we have called for a 2-round election, which has not been, and a lot of other rules within the election. When you see those who are appointed to manage elections in Cameroon, why do we think of the opposition? We can do everything here with opposition, having a unified candidate, but then in the rules and the personality governing the election, I believe you know who is the chairman of the electoral board and who is the chairman, the director of elections, Cameroon. If you look at their profile, you tell all of them have been at the presidency of the republic. If not, others have been at the territorial administration. When a referee from the same team, an individual is called as a referee from the opposite team to refer a match, you can imagine the out. In fact, we don't need to get into unified. In 1992, all of us were aware of what happened. No matter what coalition SDF was having, it still came out with the same result. I am saying that away from the unity of opposition party, there are many other issues we need to rectify. We will wait again in this country for the next 1 month or 2 weeks for election to be proclaimed. We don't know what is the problem. Is it the information coming from Mora to Yaoundé on the eve or after election for us to receive elections in 2 days?
And Mr. Charles, in few hours from now, Professor Maurice Kamto is going to be meeting with some opposition in Yaoundé with regards to upcoming election in Cameroon, and top on the agenda is going to be opposition coalition in Cameroon. Do you have some prospects already? Do you see some of these powerful candidates, like you people call it, coming together to form an opposition coalition?
That is the expectation of Cameroonians. Many Cameroonians are really expecting that President Bobia faces only one candidate, one contestant. But the problem, if I try to go through what is coming from the field, it seems that yesterday Joshua also released a communique. In that communique, he was saying that he has his own union for change already. He has a union for change, and that other parties, other contestants should stand behind SDF because it seems that stream drives right to the sea, and that SDF is the only party well represented in the national territory, and that the SDF is the only party that can really challenge Paul Biya. You see, when you make a declaration like that, you don't give allowance to others to come with you. You should call all of them to come together and now decide a minimum, a consensus, come with a consensus. You cannot just put yourself together without knowing what you will do if at least at end you emerge first. So you have to put yourself together. But when I see from what is coming from the field, from the ground, I see what the MRC is doing. He has a meeting tomorrow. We heard today from Chantal Roger Tuile that there is already a union that has been put in place to support. We don't know which candidate. So it is very difficult in this contest for opposition to come together. But it is Cameroonians really want that. Cameroonians are really expecting that if the candidates can come together and present maybe one contestant to face Paul Biya, maybe something different can happen after the 7th of October.
Barrister Atanga, since he was talking about the SDF candidate, how advantageous would it be for the opposition in Cameroon to come together ahead of the 7th of October 2018 presidential election in Cameroon?
Well, a coalition is good. It's always good to join forces in everything you do. And the SDF has been making a lot of effort and is still making a lot of efforts till date to have some candidates and some parties together to face the number one adversary of the SDF, which is Mr. Biya. And it is true that, it is difficult to have people to agree. And we're not looking for a situation where you have only one candidate against the other. No. We're looking for a situation where Cameroonians identify themselves in the candidate before them. So, what I want to say is that a coalition is good, but without a coalition, we can still go to elections. Because the idea being sold across the board is that without a coalition, we cannot beat Mr. Biya. That is the idea marketed by the CPDM to justify their weaknesses and their failures, because they already see it coming. They believe that on the eve of the elections, they can now say, oh, these people came scattered. That is why they have to go and line up 20 beggars to come and stand behind them and say they are supporting them. We don't even know the weight they have. That is why they have to go and say all this and that, that elections are already known, results are already known, so as to discourage Cameroonians from coming to the polls. One thing is clear. If there's one person who is afraid of elections in this country, free and fair elections, because he will never bring free and fair elections, is Mr. Biya. With electoral manipulations, with Onel manipulations, all the manipulations we've had in Cameroon, we've decided, and that Cameroonians will only salvage the situation by going to elections massively. Because when there are many people, it is difficult to rig, it's difficult to fraud. So, without the coalition, instead of you stay at home, that you will not go and vote, because coalition depends on you. You want one candidate against Biya, if you don't find it, you say you will stay at home, you will not help the situation. Go out and vote the person you think should have led this number of candidates. Because over the years, if people keep refusing that, okay, there is somebody who stands a better chance of uniting others, keep on voting and showing us the years to come that this is that, this person has more weight than the other.
Barrister,
so don't stay at home, go out and vote.
Just a curiosity, is the absence of opposition coalition an advantage to the CPDM political party?
You see, when a father of a house...
Or it's a non-event?
No, to me it's a non-event. When a father of a house has so many children, we allow the children to play. But the children, the kids can never be the father.
No, you cannot.
Please, we don't talk like that here, please. You want to talk, go ahead. When the father of a house allow the kids to play, the kids can never be the father, no matter how hard they try, until we decide to phase out, then you become a father. Coming to it, we mix up so many issues when it comes to politics. A civil servant in reality is not a politician. The post of president is meant for a politician and not for a civil servant. So when they mix up the fact that President Biya was a civil servant at one point in time and is the president, and then he's still a civil servant.
All of them are work.
You don't want me to talk?
No, Barrister, you have the floor.
Okay. So when you mix it up, you get it all wrong. You see, somebody mentioned the president of elections, Cameroon. At one point in time, he was a civil servant. But now you link him, you say he's a CPDM member for reasons that you best know. But I can bet you, that guy has never had a CPDM card. And there's so many of them like that. I always say we have to make a distinction between the civil service and CPDM. Because CPDM is a party that has its members. When we notice that when they appoint some civil servants, they tend to be CPDM for reasons they best know. But once you know we're in politics, what people say in the day is not what they do or say in the night. Because politics is a game of interest, and politics is a game that has to do with money.
A game of interest, but the people.
Yes.
Those are the helm.
Yes. So coming
should be ready to serve the people.
Yes. Coming to talk about this coalition, you know, we find out there are so many parties that are one-member party. How can we be afraid of such parties? The only credible opposition party we have in this country, to me, is SDF, that can stand the assault. But the rest are one-member, our parties are people made of.
You would only be able to measure that after the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. The CPDM that has been in power, like Mr. John Akko said, for 35 years now, what program, political, economic and social program, is the CPDM going to be proposing this time around to Cameroonians for change? Many are calling for change.
Yes, many are calling for change. How many? When you say many, how many are they? The status quo...
You mean just the selected few want change in Cameroon?
The present situation, we all know where the cankerworm is, where the problem is. All of us know. And the problem in this country is civil service. It's not CPDM. It's not the president. You don't expect the president to come and repair a road in
the civil service run by the same government.
You know, there are people managing the road directly. There's a director, for example. There's a regional delegate in charge of roads in Douala. Something happens to roads in Douala, you don't even see him come out to talk about it. He's a civil servant, paying from our taxes. He doesn't even communicate to the population. The population. And you want Paul Biya, who is the president, to come and repair roads in Douala? What are guys appointed there for? What are the civil servants who are supposed to do that way? What are they for? And that's the problem we have in this country. It is not the president. It is the fact that guys who are in the civil service, mostly young men, are of bad faith. They don't do their job, and everybody is there just to make money. And when they make money, they don't take care of the general good. It's not a matter of CPDM. It's a matter of civil servants. Your brothers, your sisters, your uncles, your aunts, everybody, you see them every day, driving big cars, living luxurious lives where you know that their salaries do not permit them to
But they're under the public service.
Under the public service, that's what I'm saying. And under the public service, it has a structure. It is not the president who comes to work the place of minister. Not the minister who can work in the place of a regional director and things like that, and so on and so forth. The Cameroon government is well structured, and everybody is expected to do his job. But once you take the bad attitudes of some workers to blame them on one person, they get it all wrong.
But what is the reality?
For example, we're in a house with 6 children. One is a thief. One is a businessman. One is a minister, and so on and so forth. They're all your children. You have to manage them with their various ways of behaving, and it's not easy. And that's why you need somebody who has a level head like President Paul Biya to manage the situation. You bring anybody to do it the way he's doing it, will have more problems than you can ever think of.
But many say that the problem should be at the level of follow-up and competence.
How many? Those who say it come on TV, most of them have never even had an election before in their lives. And they come and they think that they can talk for how many people?
Mr. Akojan, you wanted to say this.
Before President Biya has not been in elections.
Please, I want to quote very simple. There is a simple quotation from the book of Acts, if you read the Bible, that a parent's example is a child's handbook. And what are we saying? Meaning when you get to a home and the children are misbehaving, we need to find out who is the father of these children. We cannot claim that those who are working with the present regime, it is all to their responsibility. In 1982, when President Paul Biya took power, he brandished the system under moral rigor and moralization. I will tell you that it is within the same time that Cameroon has been voted most corrupt country on earth. And what do we find? A lot of schools, hospitals. We have seen women dying in hospitals at childbirth. The highest level in the history of this country is still noticed now. Meaning Cameroon was better 40 years ago than it is today when it comes to female maternal death. It becomes a problem. If these things are happening within the system, we cannot accuse individuals. We accuse the leadership. We should stop shifting blame that we have a player, that after this player will leave the team and the Cameroon nation will not survive. We need to give sanctions. If those sanctions are to come, I mean, it is the highest, the leadership of this party. And we come successfully to tell Cameroonians today that we need to be honest to ourselves. We keep on blaming the leadership of the party than whosoever, because he is the chief choir master. In fact, if the choir master doesn't conduct the choir for that day well, you equally feel the impact at the level of the preaching in the church. It is what it is. We should not argue. I'm just saying here that we need to believe that Cameroon has a leadership that is poor, and we have to change it, even at the level of the CPDM. If in other regimes, we have seen in China, though we call it a communist party, but I believe President Paul Biya has been on seat and watched more than 6 leadership in that nation. We have seen the same in places like Russia, even though it's a communist system, but we've seen leadership being rotating. For us to have something new, why can't we have this for Cameroonians? Those who work with President Paul Biya want to answer back. Keep on writing that he should stand, because they know where they are, they know what they are doing, and that bringing in somebody new might change the whole physics and the chemistry of the affairs.
Mr. Charles, calling for the Biya candidacy by CPDM party supporters and other Cameroonians. Could it not be another chance for the head of state and the CPDM political party to realize some of those unrealized projects that the party has not been able to achieve, some of those things that the party has not been able to accomplish for the past 30 years?
I don't believe that if you have been there for 36 years and you know succeed, you have enough time to realize what you expect, that where Cameroonian could expect you to realize in even give you 7 more years. So it's a great failure. Today, I don't believe that even President Biya can stand and ask Cameroonians to give in 7 more years, because within this mandate, he can realize what he has not been able to do in more than 35 years. And I believe that if really we have a contestant who is from the CPDM and not President Paul Biya, at least change the presidential election will be different.
So it's the leadership and not the party that is the problem.
The problem is the person. Is the person representing the party. He has been there for more than 36 years, and Cameroonians have realized that he has not been at the top of the expectation of Cameroonians. So they believe they would like to have something new. If we come into programs, normally presidential elections is a meeting between a candidate, an individual, with the people of the country. But here in Cameroon, it means that what you propose to the people is not your party, is not program of your party, is a program. On which program are we going to vote President Biya or other candidates? We hear that Joshua also.
But you get to know that when the campaign starts.
No. Because we have been used to what CPJ used to do. Maybe during the last elections, we heard of what is a grander realization. Before that, we heard of grander ambition. But we did not. There is no program like I said. This is the program. I would like to quote what Maiden proposed: a 15-point program to candidates, and say that this is what we believe that if before we support you, this is what we want you to integrate into your own program. But till now, we have no. We are still waiting for programs to come out. But we don't expect all those 2 weeks given for campaign to release your program. Even now, they have allowances to find themselves in plateaus like this. But we have not been hearing about what they are really proposing to Cameroonians. CPDM
certainly, Barrister will get to have the CPDM political and other programs when the campaigns finally begin, because now we are not talking about the campaign. Before I get to you,
I want to say, we cannot talk about programs.
It means that you have your program that you are
Barrister Atanga Mbole, we are coming back to Elections Cameroon and organizing a hitch-free and transparent election in the country. Barrister, please excuse us. We are talking about the possibility of Elections Cameroon organizing a hitch-free and transparent election in the country. Many are worried about how that is going to be possible in the two conflict-hit regions of the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. What is the roadmap of the SDF in the northwest and the southwest regions?
First of all, Elecam has no intention to organize free and fair elections in Cameroon. It is true, we are not attacking that. The flaws are there. The police stations, even with registration, 1 or 2 months before the end of the registration, people were even refused registration. The people were going to Elecam offices, they would turn away, the kids are not here, go to this street corner, you go there, you don't read Elecam. They never have the will, starting from its composition and those who man that structure. That one is another debate. So Cameroonians know that Elecam is CPDM. So if you are going out, as we are going out on the 7th, we are going out to fight the CPDM, its candidates, and Elecam. That is how we are going out in the SDF. And that in the SDF, we believe that all Cameroonians need to invade the election process so as to salvage this country. Nobody, anywhere where you read about democracy, after the definition of democracy, the next line will tell you that it is never given to a people on a platter of gold. So Cameroonians know and should know that they will go out as on the 7th of October and other elections as the SDF has been doing to fight, to make sure that where you rig with 10 people, it will be difficult for you to rig with 1,000 people. So we need these 1,000 people, and it is easier for these 1,000 people to come out than for a coalition as we want it. So coming now to the northwest and the southwest regions, we are carrying out underground work, and hopefully there will be elections there, because we hope that the regime will make sure that the security situation will be better. But we are also carrying out sensitization work, telling our members that they must come back, because this is an opportunity. You cannot hate somebody and allow that person access into your bedroom. So if after the 7th of October you don't come out to vote, only one person will benefit. The same person will put you in this situation. So make sure you come out to vote.
In a locality like Mamu Division, we heard the party bigwig of the Social Democratic Front, Honorable Joseph Mbandam, saying that he's leaving his locality because many
that was
are not
then.
So the situation is normalized now. That was just a few weeks ago.
Exactly, but it doesn't mean that there won't be elections there. He will go back there to campaign, because people leave when there are gunshots and there are tear gas pouring all over. People run away. So it does not mean that they will not come back to their villages. We are talking to people, and people are gradually realizing that they need to come back to their villages and vote. If not, they will be playing to somebody, to the person who has put them in this situation.
Barrister, the CPDM, opposition leaders are saying that if the CPDM, which is heading the country, is supposed to carry out campaigns in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, they have to ensure that maximum security for all the other candidates. How is the election going to unfold there? in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon?
Why do you say it's the CPDM who is supposed to make sure there's a security for everybody? There's a government, civil servants that are supposed to take the responsibility of ensuring that there's security during elections. Don't say it is CPDM. Don't mix those two issues. There are guys in this country who have been mandated by the state to make sure that there's security in Cameroon by all costs, by all means, and they'll make sure it is the security for there to be elections. You see, it's not an issue that we can gainsay, because normally the state, it has the obligation to make sure there's security everywhere in the country, which is an obligation. They cannot go away from it.
And just to
but
find
don't
out
mix it up. Don't say it is a CPDM.
Of course.
You should understand that
the government, of course, the government led by the CPDM. The government led by the CPDM, barrister.
Don't understand what is a flu.
That, of course, is a fact. The government is led by the CPDM.
No, if somebody has a flu here, it's going to affect all of us without determining that you are a lady or you're a gentleman or not. Everybody gets affected by the flu. So don't make as if CPDM doesn't have a flu, will not feel the same pinch like any other party. But you see, these are presidential elections. You gather that everybody is saying that people should come out. They are not saying that our militants should come out. That's the difference. We CPDM, we don't say that. We don't say things like that. Because we are sure of our militants. We say our militants should come out and vote. I expect everybody to say, not say people should come out. Who is people? Say our militants, or say those who follow us, or those who believe in us. But you see, that's what I say. You see, when we allow people that have never done elections before talk about such things, and they insult another party or another person without knowing what it takes to get to the population, it's always very dangerous. Elections, the people that you see like that, they are just an unruly horse. You can take it to a stream, or you cannot force it to drink. So you must be intelligent and wise enough to know how to manage them, to make sure that they go to that stream to drink that water.
Mr. Akojon wants to react on some of the Herculean tasks ahead for elections Cameroon.
I always have a problem when barrister is trying to give us a very strict line between CPDM and the government. And I believe very well that in every system throughout the world, barrister is aware that when the leadership of a party takes the presidency, then that government is the government of that party. So whatever failures are on that party, if we call the government as the CPDM government, it is but normal. So you should not bring today us to know that the government is different from CPDM. I don't see the Minister of Territorial Administration acting in the name of the SDF. I don't see the Minister of Defense acting for the name of the SDF. And we have known how much money the CPDM is serving is because of the CPDM is serving thanks to the number of government delegates the CPDM is serving as sons and daughters of the party who belong to top-ranking positions. These are the finances of the government, and these are some of which we are unable to control the financial resources of the party. They contribute hugely, and when you don't win in your region, I just want you to know that if you are a minister today in Cameroon and dare you not win in your part of the country, then just the next cabinet shake-up, don't know that you will not be a member, except you become the members of what we call the shadow opposition parties, who say today they have taken coalition with the ruling party. How can you be opposition yesterday against somebody and today you are the person? I'm talking of people like we have here, Buba Bello and many others that have sat there still telling you that they are of the opposition.
But they have the right to their choices
we are not.
And their opinions, Mr. Akojon. They have the right to.
When they call you an opposition party, it's what you don't know. I have not seen opposition within the leadership of a sitting president. I've seen a coalition between non-majority governments. But when you are a majority in the state, go on and rule. Do we need other minority to join the government? Coalition governments are formed when the ruling party doesn't have the majority. But when you have a coalition with a party in one election with 78% and you still look for coalition, then there's the problem in the management of politics.
Mr. Charles.
Yes, I would like to react concerning the question you asked to Barrister Tanga. I believe that it will be very difficult to organize elections in the Southwest and Northwest. Elections can be safely organized in the headquarters of the region, Boya, Bamenda, in some headquarters of divisions, but very difficult in some divisions and villages. So that is why we hear some parties saying that it would be good for now to fight for peace, look for peace, instead of organizing presidential elections. Maybe they say that this position cannot give the allowance for president to postpone the presidential election, but I believe that it will be very, very difficult. They should take into consideration the fact that there are many internal displays. You have many people who have registered maybe in the northwest and southwest and who have run away, who moved from the southwest, from the northwest, and one found here in the littoral, in the central region, in many parts of Cameroon. Many of them are even out of the country. We hear that many of them are refugees in Nigeria. So I don't believe that election will be fair in the northwest.
Possibly elections Cameroon would
maybe
take
even the
dispositions.
results. So I believe that even the results that comes from the polls there will not really reflect the reality, because the government will try by all possible means to make people in the international community to take into account the fact that people really vote in those areas. But I believe that it will be very, very difficult.
Would you not be worried, Barrister, about results of elections in those regions, like Mr. Charles Fongang indicated earlier?
Yes, I don't think I said there will be elections in the northwest and the southwest regions without any difficulty. We already have a difficulty that people are displaced, and some are in the neighboring countries, some are on this other side of the Mongo. That is already a big problem. But then, between now and then, those who will go back to vote, I think they should be allowed to vote. Unless you are telling me that they should not be allowed to vote. Those who will go back to vote, because on that day, if people present themselves at a polling station, why shouldn't they vote? They should vote and make sure that the vote that comes out reflects what they have done. So the difficulty is there. We are aware of that, and we are working against that difficulty. You know, it is the SDF operates when it is very tough. We are used to adversaries. We are used to tough movements, and we are working tooth and nail to have these elections take place as much as possible in the best possible way. So we are not saying that there will be no difficulties. There will definitely be difficulties, but the SDF cannot tell people not to go to elections. We are telling people to go to elections and that they can make it if they want to. So let's wait and see what will happen on the 7th, hoping that Cameroonians, especially compatriots of the northwest and the southwest regions, will understand that what they have been crying for, they have an opportunity to express themselves, and if they refuse to express themselves, they will be the people to regret in the very, very near future. So we are not saying that elections will take place without any difficulties. There are definitely difficulties. They are already, but we are working towards ameliorating and making sure that these difficulties don't affect us to the highest or worst degree.
Yeah. Can you give an example of what you have been doing? You don't, like,
for example, I'm talking. Yes,
like to know.
No, but I'm talking like this to people. People from the northwest and the south region are listening to us. Not so. Those who are here, I'm never may go back to vote because you understand the stakes. You just need to let people know the stakes.
Just to vote.
No, you just need to let people know the stakes of anything that they are doing. If not, you wouldn't be here to talking. Because you're talking to Cameroonians about elections, about the presidential elections. We are sensitizing Cameroonians not so about these elections. So we cannot be sensitizing a country and refusing to sensitize part of the country, especially as we are at the TV session, which is followed all over the nation. So it depends on the people. If people decide to do something, you cannot refuse them from doing it. So we hope that they should reason or act in a particular way, and we can only sensitize them and tell them why we think it will be in their best interest. So unless I don't understand you, that we shouldn't talk about it, or we should just close the northwest and southwest region.
Holds that there is need for peace to return to the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon before we start talking about election. There is this initiative of Christian Cardinal Tomi of the Anglophone General Conference that is at the center of controversy at the moment. It is going to be coming, of course, before start of campaigns, before the 24th of September, when campaigns are supposed to begin across the national territory. It's supposed to hold between the 29th to the 30th of this month of August 2018. Do you think that this could be a solution to the crisis, or the beginning of a solution prior to the presidential election in Cameroon?
No, I support anything peace. When there is a chaos or crisis or war, is always welcome. But the type of peace they might like to have, we would like to have, needs more than convening a meeting. I will say what Cardinal Tomi, who is a very respectable clergyman that everybody venerates very much, which me too I venerate, has come out with something which is very good for the country. But for it to succeed, there's so much work to be done. It needs to get a class or a group of mediators to go down to the field, to the grassroots.
He's certainly working on that.
Sure. If that's what he's doing, I'm sure the meeting that is calling on the 24th will be something very, very, very important for the country.
Do you hold a similar view that
if not,
a solution is beyond holding just a meeting?
Yeah, the fact is, Barrister is talking, forgetting that these are conglomerates of churches. And I think the best way to bring peace in Cameroon is through the church. The imams have been informed, the imams of Bamenda and Boya. It will mean that all the Muslims in that region are receiving the message from the great imam of the region. And if the PCC, through its secretariat and the secretary of that particular church, the Presbyterian Church, is a member to this signing for the meeting, then they will spread the message through the churches. I will tell you that one of the most violent incidents we have faced in certain developing nations is the conflict between churches. And so if churches have to come together, there is a need that they can prove a positive impact and that Cameroonians may come down to what we are thinking. That is why many of us that spoke of the Cardinal Initiative said what we call the Plan d'Urgence for the Northwest and the Southwest was supposed to have been taken first by the Cardinals Initiative before we have to talk of the emergency plan. We have to think of those who are in Nigeria, those who are out of their homes, those who are in the bushes, to come back to the villages before we even think of election. I am one of those persons who think the time for elections in these two regions was very, very untimely. In fact, we don't need elections in these regions now. The best we need is peace and stability before can we then progress
Mr. Chance,
to elections.
the conference could be that last chance that the country might have prior to the presidential election for peace to return.
It's one chance
in the two
among
regions.
many others. But I believe that it's a good initiative. But the fact that the people concerned with the dialogue is only the Anglophones cannot be a good solution. We are calling for an inclusive dialogue, and now if the dialogue will concern only Anglophones, people from the Northwest and Southwest, I don't really know how it can bring peace, because the problem in the Southwest and Northwest also concern Cameroonians out of that region. And if they believe that peace can come just because Anglophones...
This is a platform to bring up proposals to be taken to the national level.
But it means that at the second half we have another meeting where
it's a preparatory meeting.
It's a preparatory meeting. We have another preparatory meeting where French-speaking Cameroonians will sit and also bring out solutions and propose maybe during another dialogue. I don't know. It will take too much time.
So you it should be
if they can organize an inclusive dialogue, we can have peace.
Generally, you are not in
something. Exactly.
Maybe if Mr. Fongan has a problem, I will tell you that this country we call Cameroon comes from by or two states, and that 1961 makes the history of this nation. And that when we see now what is happening in one part is not happening in the other. There are the people in that part where they have a problem who think they should sit first, then go with the government. They are not going against Francophone, they are going to talk with the government. That is why they are having this preparatory meeting.
Yes, Mr.
The supposedly the government is manned by an Anglophone called Mr. Philemon Young. So Anglophones are prepared to go and talk to you. What are you talking about here? Please, let's be serious.
This man is not
this play will work. Before we go, Barrister, before we go, just final words ahead of the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon and the general atmosphere in the country. We have just a few minutes to go.
Yes. The final word is that Cameroonians should take their destiny into their hands. We are the people to solve the problems of this country. The proof is that we are not discussing about Chad here or Gabon. We are discussing about Cameroon. So everybody has a role to play. Let nobody think that it is an issue of others. No, it is our problem and we must solve it. There are two ways. Either you choose the ballot paper or you choose the bullet. So we have chosen the ballot papers, and we think we can fight with ballot papers and remove this regime. So let's all invade elections, and we will be surprised with the results that we have. So come October 7, Cameroonians should gear up to go out and vote.
Barrister Ashu Julius, final words.
The final word is that those who don't participate in elections are always wrong. If you have a pain what is in you about something about governance, democracy, or whatever, the only way to ease that pain is carry your civic duty to go and vote. If you don't go and vote, you can't blame any other person as to the outcome. If you think that somebody is not good enough for you, vote him out. If you think that that person is good enough for you, vote him out. Those are the principles of democracy. If you don't go, don't forget that don't go to vote is also a right. You can decide not to participate. But once you don't participate, you always find yourself on the wrong side of history.
Mr. Akojon, briefly before we go.
One, I call on all the youths in Cameroon to take chance and gain themselves. It is 2018, and I think our country clocks soon 60. We need to make the difference. And I said, a platform of youths, let's forget about the old, that Cameroon should be made new, and that Cameroon belongs to them. The youths and forces, in fact, to the Cameroon youth movement will create us a better atmosphere for the future.
Mr. Charles Fongang,
I believe that something new, something different can come out from the polling stations on the 7th of October, but only if those contestants or the candidates speak one word, come out with one common program, and present the single candidate.
Thank you so much.
It's quite possible.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Fongang, a journalist, for joining us tonight in this special program. Thank you so much once again for your time. Mr. Akojon Ako, a political analyst, we thank you for coming.
The pleasure is mine.
Barrister Atanga Mbambole, good evening to you once again. Thank you so much for coming. To another barrister, Ashu Julius, supporter of the CPD and political party, we thank you so much for your time.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you to our viewers. It was the special program here live on Equinoxe television following the publication of the list of the presidential candidates ahead of the 9th of October 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. Viewers, so thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.